Welcome back to Smoke Signals. I'm Matt Montgomery along with head football coach Wayne Coleman. Fight Indians ran into a buzzsaw last week with the defending state champion, the Ennis Lions, and coach, boy, they were every bit of the state champion they were last year. They may be even better this year.
They've got a good football team. They had a good offseason. They're building on their momentum. They went through a tough non-district schedule, and I think they're the real deal.
Coach, the game started off pretty good for your team. I mean, it wasn't too bad. You had a couple of 3-and-outs in a row. Maybe I think it was 3 3-and-outs. Then you kind of settled down. But the game, just the physicality of it, just kind of took over after that.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you've got a bigger, stronger team. You're able to play with them for a little bit, but eventually the size and strength takes over in the game.
In a game like that, Coach, where the score gets that way, what are you looking for as a head football coach out of your team at that point?
Sure. You're looking to see how your kids are reacting to adversity, because as a coach, you're always preaching to them that the true test of a man is how he reacts when things aren't going well. And our kids actually responded well with good attitudes, no fighting amongst each other, and everybody played hard to the end.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week's game versus Ennis. Here's a pretty good play here by Zandrick Morrow coming up.
Yeah, Zandrick kind of collapsed that in the backfield. We had Zandrick on the edge a little bit last week trying to take care of those kick-out blocks for us. And as long as we had 22 running sideways, we were okay.
Yeah. And, of course, Terrence Silman's done a great job, and Dedrick Tatum in on this play as well.
Yep. Keep your eyes up there. Good hawk tackle by Terrence.
Here's a young sophomore, Emmanuel Gajron right here. Excuse me.
Yeah, Emmanuel's doing a good job for us, and it's good to see our sophomores step up and make some plays.
Of course, this is the scene of the night with Ennis. They were just so physical up front, and their backs took advantage of that.
Yeah, once they got going north and south, we were in trouble right there.
A nice play by Terrence again here.
Yes, sir. Good stunt call by Coach Kennedy, and Terrence finished it off.
Of course, this is what Cameron Hyde does so well.
He does. We had a rollout called there, and the defensive end pulled him up, and Cameron made something out of nothing.
And I think this speaks to the kind of players that Ennis has right here with the way they can break tackles and get in space.
Yeah, we should have made a tackle right there. Our kid went for the ball, but that's a big, strong kid right there.
About 220 pounds worth. So, Coach, there's not a whole lot to say about it. It's just Ennis was just a great football team, and you're not going to see many teams like that on your schedule this year. I know you got some good teams coming up, but I would say that Ennis looks like they may be the class of the district.
They look really good Friday night. The score is really indicative of what the game was, and it's hard to understand. I told the kids, I said, you played the game relatively mistake-free. We had one turnover on a kickoff. The ball just died on us right there. You got to catch all your kicks in the air. But other than that, not a lot of bad penalties, not a lot of miscues. It's just it came down to blocking and tackling, and we're playing a bigger team.
Well, the Corsicana Tigers are in town this week at Tomato Bowl. It is homecoming, so it's a huge week in Jacksonville. The town's getting behind it, and the parade and everything. Coach, these are weeks that sometimes coaches kind of scratch their heads and get frustrated with because there's so many activities and distractions going on. Talk about the activities and how you're going to try to keep your team focused for the game Friday night.
Yeah, I think the main thing is to understand that really from a season standpoint, with the Ennis game behind you, you've got 4 winnable games right here, back to back to back to back. Teams schools that are closer to our size, and they're in our range of where their programs are developmentally wise. So we're excited that Corsicana's coming to town. We're excited it's homecoming, and we had a great practice this morning, and the kids are excited. I look for good things.
Corsicana comes in at 3-1. They started off 3-0 for the first time in a number of years, and they got beat last week by Lindale, which I've been telling everybody, Lindale is a great football team, so that's nothing for people to say, oh man, Corsicana got upset by Lindale. They're good, and we'll be heading to Lindale after this ball game. But Corsicana is a team that likes to run the ball. They have a very talented quarterback in Keyshawn Kelly. Talk about the Tigers and what they do well.
Yeah, their loss to Lindale was a 19-7 game, and 19-7 these days, that's a low-scoring game. And so there was 2 good defenses on the field, and they've got some weapons on the offensive end. The quarterback is very good, and then defensively they play a sound 4-3 defense which is what Ennis played, but they're not playing with the same kids that Ennis played with. I think we've got a good plan for them. I think our kids are excited. We went over the game plan with them this morning, and I saw a good look in their faces.
Coach, offensively last week, so difficult to execute against such a strong Ennis defense. Will you be able to get back to what you've done so well, and that's the zone read, the running game? I mean, golly, you know, the first 3 ball games you were averaging over 300 yards on the ground. So
yeah, I think you know, there comes to a point in a game where you say this game's out of hand. I'm not going to risk running my quarterback anymore tonight. And so that took a little bit of our playbook away from us against Ennis, because you want to make sure you come out of that game healthy, especially with the 4 games we've got coming up.
One of the highlights last week, and I guess going forward, talking about the passing game, is Trey Wagner had 6 catches. He kind of came alive last week, and Cam got the ball out there to him pretty well.
Yeah, he did. Trey had a good game. But that was the nature of the defense they were running. They were trying to stack the box against our run game, which opened up some hot routes to Trey's side, and we took advantage of it. And we did some good things. It's just anytime you get beat that bad, it's hard to believe you did anything good. But the kids did execute some things really well.
And of course, they're mainly they like to run the ball, right? I mean, I remember last year Keyshawn Kelly as a sophomore, they were just bringing him along, but now they've kind of opened him up a little bit, and he is. It's a big part of the running attack. They're pretty good now. I know that Lindale held their great running back to a low number of yards after he'd had 3 big ball games.
Yeah, and they run somewhat similar to us. They're out of the pistol set, out of shotgun, and they use a tight end a lot more than we do. But really, I mean, this is the game. These are the games. Our defense that we're running is designed to stop the run, and we need to step up this week.
Defensively, what does Corsicana run that you'll try to attack?
Yeah, they're going to kind of do what Ennis did as far as play the 50-50 outside backers, what we call the overhangs, and we've got to keep using Wagner on some of the short passing game to control that, but we still have to establish the run, and I think we'll be able to do that more this week against them. We've got a little bit better of a size matchup this week than we did last week.
And of course, again, last week being such an anomaly because they were such a great team, but there were some areas that I did see some good things. I mean, number one, the attitude, the effort in a game like that. But I was pretty pleased with the tackling last week, and I don't know about what the film showed, but it seemed like even with those big backs that there were times when they were pretty bottled up. So Corsicana is somebody that you got to hang on to too, because they're also a physical team.
Yeah, they've got a couple of kids that can run the football. So we've got a gang tackle. I mean, we got to have a swarm mentality. We got to get more than one guy to the football.
So going into this game, Coach, what would be the keys to the game, so to speak, for your team to come out on top?
I think we've got to continue to progress in the passing game. The more that we'll do that, the more it'll open up our run game. And I think defensively, this will be a good matchup for us. Our defense, they run like a lot of pro formations, which is what our defense should be able to line up to well. And I think our kids will be able to execute the plan much better this week than last week.
Well, it's Corsicana for homecoming at Tomato Bowl. Kickoff at 7:30. We'll be on the air on 103.9 starting at 7 o'clock. For head coach Wayne Coleman, I'm Matt Montgomery. We'll see you next time right here on Smoke Signal.